lust, greed, envy, wrath, sloth, gluttony, pride. Some say the road to heaven is paved through hell. These are the 7 deadly sins. Everybody has this side. Everybody has a dark side. Very dark. They can go darker than they can go light. Most people. The 7 deadliest sins. I'm Nick. This is Self-Science Research and Development. We're going to take a look at the 7 deadly sins. Are you ready? Well, let's jump into it. Alright? Deadly sins. What does that look like? Where do you go? How do you do this, you know? Which one do you counter first? Through consciousness. Well, it can go in really any direction. It depends on your desires. Alright? And through consciousness, things grow. Things become more desirable. Alright? So, through the stages of your development, you will notice that you suddenly like stuff, have urges for things. And that's where these vices really come into play. And not just you are struggling from them. Everyone struggles with at least one at any given time. Now, let's take a look a little bit deeper. Let's go under the hood, so to speak, all right? Okay. Let's get into the most notorious, wrath. Wrath can be expressed in positive ways and negative ways. But overindulgence is what the 7 deadly sins is all about. Too much wrath, too much anger could be to your detriment. You get this feeling when you're encountering unfavorable odds, unfavorable circumstances. It is the emotional tug that says, hey, I don't like that at all. You do that again, and you're not going to see a side of me that's very favorable to you. Now, everybody has this side. Everybody has a dark side. Very dark. They can go darker than they can go light. Most people. You know, it's kind of the name of the game. You know, you start off in light, but the dark seems real tempting. And then you realize, holy crap, that's not for you. That's how we all go through it. You're not the only one, really. Trust me, I've been there myself, dealing with wrath. I don't even want to get into it, honestly. But checking your anger isn't the only way to deal with wrath. Channeling it is the way I've begun to deal with it. And what do you channel it into? How do you channel it, and why? These things I will help you with. But I'm sure you already got your own methods. So I'll show you a few of mine, and you take what you need, and you can leave the rest. So what I do, when I get angry, I think about all the times I was in the opposite person's position. How stupid I was acting. How dumb I was. How my mouth got me in trouble. You see, unfortunately for me, I would normally walk away with a busted lip, a broken nose, or a broken arm or leg. So, I choose mercy. More times than I care to admit. It makes me seem weak, seem kind, seem like I'm not really fierce, intimidating, or a valid authority figure. But that's not the case at all. I just don't want to correct people. I let them believe what they want to. Because I have enough mercy and compassion in my heart to see a little bit higher view. That's all. A view that complements my future instead of my egoic past. Now, I don't listen to my ego often. I only use my ego for confidence building in more constructive ways. Like, how can I become the best at what I do and how I do it? But when it comes to acting stupid to a person who's acting stupid, or another circumstance, I'm not going to indulge that. Because what do I have to prove? What do you have to prove? Nothing. It's not like there's somebody standing behind us with a badge every time we tell a stupid person, hey, I want to get just as stupid as you. We can play a stupid contest. No. That doesn't work like that. There's no hierarchy of dumb. There's just not. And wrath is something that you can't control or put back in the bottle when it's uncorked. You know, you let people get under your skin that bad, and you have a master. They know just where to push your button to get you to do whatever they want you to do. And honestly, I'm just not the kind of guy to have anybody else control me. You know, I don't want you to be the kind of person either to have anybody else control you. Because only God and your heart can control what this mind does, what your mind does. And that's what I believe. So let's move on to the next vice. Deadly sin. This is greed. Probably the second most dangerous of them all. Greed is very hard to deal with because it can be portrayed in many different ways. But it must almost always come down to possession. You want to possess things, people, assets, currencies. That is a void you will never be able to fill. When I was younger, I had given God for 5 years, literally, that entire vice. I said, God, I'm too greedy, so I'm doing away with currency. I'm doing away with money. You will feed me. please. I'm not telling you at all. I'm just saying, please. But I did it for Lent one year, and it turned into 5. I had completely sacrificed everything. I didn't have a credit card, didn't have a car, didn't have no money, no job. And God got me through, because I seen where that kind of possession was taking me. I had egoic power, lusts, greed, really. And I wanted to quell that desire, so much so that I wouldn't use my want for greed, for money, for power, for possession, for material against another, ever. So I did away with it. And it was really hard. It was really hard for the first, 6 months. I had some help. But that's ultimately how I dealt with it. Now, greed can come in many forms. You could be very greedy when it comes to, your time, your possessions, your favorite book. You could be at the store and there could be a last thing. And, but those are small things of greed. Really, it comes down to, are you generous or not? You see, each one of these amplify a good quality. When you quell greed, you actually become more generous. Because you realize a fundamental truth in the universe. No matter what you give, it will come back to you. Okay? So if you're paying people with negative attention, guess what you're going to get back? Negative attention. So, same thing. If you're paying people with greed, you're only going to get greed back. So here's a few ways to deal with greed. Okay, you can cold turkey, like I did. And yes, it'll be tough. And you will literally rely on God far more than you ever have in your entire life. Or you'll become generous and then realize everything's already provided. But that takes time. That takes, calming your spirit. Greed is very, very difficult to overcome. It's, especially if you have siblings. Especially if you grew up with siblings, you have a tougher time with greed because you want your own things. You grew up having to share, yada, 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 So, greed is synonymous with selfishness in many ways. But in other ways, greed hurts others and your soul a lot. So, let's move on to sloth. Effectively, laziness. Okay. Now, procrastination is something we all of us, go through. It is a debilitating need to be comfortable. When you are uncomfortable, you succeed. Do you understand? Let me break it down. It's like this. There are many ways you can deal with sloth, okay? And there are many forms it can take. It can take a form in work. Like, you could purposefully not do stuff at work and have other people pick up the slack. You could purposefully not listen to your mother or your father when they ask you to do something. You could purposefully put off your dreams and goals because either you're too lazy, you're procrastinating, or you don't believe you can do it. But that's not in the scope of this video. So, what do you need to do to overcome sloth? Well, the best way to overcome procrastination, to overcome sloth, is to be uncomfortable. Put yourself in situations that force you to grow, that force you to move. Trust me, it's amazing. It's the willful avoidance of things just because you don't feel like it. You know, things, even I suffer from the sloth, like, all the time. You know, I have to get myself motivated by being uncomfortable. Like, I literally have to, because I've grown up in a way where if I don't do it right then, I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna forget. Absolutely. No doubt about it. And then if I forget, I put it off. Because I forgot, and now I don't have the things to complete what I need. See where it's going? It's a slippery slope already. Alright? So the more you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, environments, the more you grow, the faster you develop. You know how good that is for you? Like, only the thing you would ever need. You know? If you were put in uncomfortable situations all your life, tell me. Truth is, I have been. And do you know what kind of person you'd become? It's like God dictating all the obstacles for you to create, like, a juggernaut. Like, you can do anything, bro. Like, anything. What? Because of all the uncomfortable places that you've been put through. These situations that challenged you. That you had to overcome, that you had to go through. Like, the things you face in life are crucial. It's all about your willingness to face what you need to face. I've ran, don't get me wrong, like I've ran and avoided many things in my life and didn't want to face many, many things and was in denial many times. And I've lost people because of that. I have lost opportunities because of that. And I've been through the ringer because of that. And life went on. I'm not gone. I'm still here. And I've overcome the worst. So don't let those voices in your head become bigger than your problems. Because all they are just molehills. Unless you turn them into mountains. Which I suffer from too. We're all the same. It's just how we deal with it. The deadly sin of lust. Lust can take many shapes and manifest in various different ways through thoughts, actions, gestures. How one deals with this amplified desire is what really matters. When encountering this overindulgence, it can teach you to temper your desires, or it can teach you to fall further into your overindulgence. How one deals with it completely depends on how they choose to. Lust can cause self-sabotage, feelings of unworthiness, and low self-worth, because you give the most sacred part of yourself to someone who couldn't care less about you and treats you poorly. All because you are overindulging in a desire that needs quelled. And how you can do this is through chastity. I myself has been through just about all of this. Just the things where, trying to open doors that didn't benefit me at all. And living poorly. But that's how I had to learn. What I was experiencing. I was never in love at all. That it was just lust. And then recognize what love really looks like. Because each one of our souls are searching for that connection, the one that makes you feel seen. And most people don't know it, but sometimes it's right in front of you. And you're just too blind to see. Because your mind hasn't slowed down enough and organized what's going on to be able to see it. But these circumstances, they don't define you. They're not the sum of your spirit. They're not the sum of your character, of who you are. You're just looking for someone to love you. How can that be bad? How can that be wrong? If anyone understands that, it's me. The deadly sin of gluttony. This deadly sin is the overconsumption of food, social media, medication. It really doesn't matter. Almost anything can be overconsumed. And guess what? The market is literally built for consumption. So you're looking at it on every ad, every program, every TV, every phone, every piece of clothing, like everything is geared for that. So you're in for a doozy. Gluttony is one of those deadly sins that is very hard to control. It's very hard, and difficult to manage. Less is more in this case, and always in moderation. The best way to confront this deadly sin is to really slow down. Look at what you're consuming, how you're consuming it, what's on your feed. What are you allowing in your program? Because this mind is a programmable computing system that is organic. So whatever codes you feed it, it will become. Overindulgence is, the willful ignorance that you're over-consuming. It's the willful neglect that you're overindulging. And you could be overindulging in minute ways. Gossip, what's going on in other people's lives, because who wants to look at my own, right? These happen. I want new shoes. I want new things. I want new this. I want new that. I'm not going hand-me-down nation. That's still overindulgence. You're looking at just about everything you do. It needs to be combed with a fine-tooth brush. Because gluttony isn't just about food. It's about doing too much. I'm gluttonous on my research, and that's something that I need to control. It's the truth. Who wouldn't want to become more than what they are? That's what the deadly sins are all about. There's no avoiding them. There's only going through. I think that's cool. The deadly sin of pride. Pride is the cornerstone of ego. Sometimes your pride will keep you from acknowledging those hard truths, because your ego doesn't want to accept it. But you're not the only one who has to suffer like that. Believe me, I've done my fair share of suffering. I've done my fair share of pride. It's no fun. It's work. It's a lot of work to keep up continuously fighting and arguing. It's a lot of work to be that low vibrational, that egoic, that prideful, that arrogant. Like, you have no idea. And you see, when you're in those states, you're vampiric. So, like, you're taking other people's energy. You're not using your own. And it just hurts a lot of people. And there's many remedies for pride. For instance, all that gossip, all that slander, all that talk like you know someone, that's pride. Because you're not willing to accept the truth about that person. See what I mean? It takes real honesty with yourself to overcome pride, to be initiated into your truth. Because once you face your truth, that pride slowly goes away. Each one of these are shadow elements of who you are. Protecting your ego from breaking. Trust me, ego breaks are not fun. The deadly sin of envy. Now, envy can appear in many different ways. You know, for instance, you could envy somebody because you're intimidated by them. Because you think they're better than you. Subconsciously, like, you don't actually feel like they're better than you. Of course not. But you are afraid that they might be. Yes, that's envy. Sorry to tell you. Envy is also a way of protecting your ego from you not living up to your own potential. Because you know you could do better, don't you? Yes, Naga, I know I can do better. I know you can. Well, see, how hard is that? You know, being jealous of somebody else because you don't do what they do or have what they have is like saying, hey, you don't deserve what you got because you worked so hard for it, because I feel like I deserve it because I haven't. Are you an idiot? I don't think you are. Do you see the stupidity in that? Stop being jealous of people. Stop being envious of them, even if they're gorgeous. So what? You're gorgeous too. Like, how hard is it for you to believe that you're amazing? You know, so many situations and circumstances and tragedies happen in this world every day. The only thing that people focus on is what's happening to them, and not what they can change. Not how they can change it, but they're a victim of happenstance. You can change all of the things that are happening to you, all of the circumstances, literally. You can redefine every single one of them. You're only a label if you choose to be a label. You are only what you define yourself to be. So if you want to be envious or jealous, then you will be. But you need to understand that it's deeper than that. It's how you think, how you programmed your mind. I don't like this person because they have this, they do this, they are this. How does that help you at all? Like, please explain to me how it helps you. How does it help you? Like, seriously. It doesn't at all. So, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your precious mental power, your emotional energy, and your spiritual presence on envy, lust, greed, gluttony, pride, wrath? Why are you wasting it on all these? And sloth. Because we all have to. It's a level of consciousness each one of us has to go through. So, when you overcome these, you have reached a stage where they turn into their opposites. So you become so prideful to the point to where you almost have no pride. You become so lustful to the point where you don't want to touch anything. You become you do it so many times that you just lose your taste for it. Quite literally. And that's how toxic people turn into divine people. And that's the stage everyone goes through. You are no exception. Everyone. Why do I say this? I've seen it. I've watched it. Every single person in my life, and there have been hundreds of thousands, have these same exact focal points in their life. And that's with these deadly sins. Because everyone overindulges them. Everyone. Why, Nick? Well, it could be social programming. It could be dogmatic. It could be just our literature. It could be education. Or it just could be us being bad parents. Being bad children. I myself has been through all of this. In my past, I used to try to open doors that didn't benefit me whatsoever. But that's how I had to learn from what I was experiencing. And when you learn from these experiences, you go through them and pretty soon they get real old, real quick. And then you grow out of them. And, I would do things that just did not suit my character. And I didn't know why. Like, it was like I was self-sabotaging myself. I was causing these weird outbursts in the middle of, like, conversation because, like, I had this feeling of, like, self-preservation. And should I trust this individual, yada, 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 to show them, like, my wounds and my scars and things of that nature, and, you know, when I noticed I was doing it, like when I became conscious of this self-defensive mechanism, I would, you know, sit there and beat myself up about it. Like, why would I do that? Like, dude, like, they're just having normal conversation. And, you know, it baffles, you know, because, like, when you go through these stages of understanding yourself, like, you encounter each one of these deadly sins. You encounter, like, a lot of stuff, because a lot of stuff's just thrown on you, you know? Like, you're bombarded with the whole world, with attention, with people, with, you know, work, love life, you know, career, dreams, goals, all at once. And, you know, organizing all of that is super, super tough. So, like, the lifestyle that I chose was, like, I wanted to be able to experience the hard, tough lessons so I could answer the hard, tough questions. It wasn't like I was deliberately putting myself down the hardest path, but I kind of deliberately was, because I wanted to experience, you know, the understanding that came along with my soul's, you know, incarnation. Traveling through each one of these desires while doing my research, because my research involves me going through it, me doing it, and then me fasting it and giving it to God. You know, I remember one year I had completely just gave it all to God, and I was just like, here, like, you know, I don't want this no more, you know, like, I don't want to feel like this no more. And, you know, since then, like, yeah, there has been times where I have dealt with things, you know, that everybody goes through, you know, like, we all go through these things. We all have these thoughts. We all have these desires. Like, I think Buddha said, how does one forego desire? How does one stop desiring? The answer is you can't. It's impossible. You desire to stop desiring. Oh my gosh, look, it's a catch-22. There's no stopping it. It's what fuels us. Each one of these are emotional responses. And that's the honest to God truth. And these are the 7 deadly sins. I'm Naga Nick. This is Self-Science Research and Development. And if you like what we do here and the research that we do, please consider supporting us. You can go to our email and reach out through our contact information so we can bring you more of this kind of content.